In 2015, the Washington Post reported that law is one of the least racially diverse professions in the nation. 88% of lawyers are white, making only 12% of lawyers people of color. They also reported that substantial evidence suggests that unconscious bias and exclusion from informal networks of support and client development remain common.
My name is Nicole Phillips. I am a partner at the law firm of Montgomery, McCracken, Walker, and Rhodes in the white collar and government investigations practice group. We are, very much in a criminal justice reform conversation nationally. And a big piece of that conversation is representation at all levels. There should be representation of diversity in all aspects of the criminal justice system. Judges, public defenders' offices, DA's offices, our police force, our jurors. We need to show up and answer the summons to be jurors so that a defendant of color can truly have a jury of their peers, because the justice system goes from arrest all the way through trial for those that elect to have a jury trial. And so there needs to be representation all the way through. I think that a criminal justice system should be representative of its community.
Anton Andrew. I am the Democratic nominee for the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, the 160th District.
As a young adult, Anton himself experienced racial discrimination. This propelled Andrew into his now career and motivates him to continue using his power to create change for young Black and brown people.
I have been really proactive in engaging law enforcement communities around me to say, what does policing 2.0 looks like? Because policing 1.0 doesn't work for you and it doesn't work for the communities you're supposed to protect.
A police officer should be someone that respects the community that they serve, knows the community that they serve, is invested in the community that they serve.
African American juveniles are disproportionately detained in comparison to their white peers. Andrew has worked hard to find alternatives to incarceration for juveniles.
Probably my proudest accomplishment with the Public Defender's Office in terms of creating those sorts of alternatives to incarceration, which, permanently change young people's lives.
Andrew is focused on addressing some of the issues within the system that disproportionately affect young Black and brown people.
Overzealous policing, eliminating judges' options to use their own discretion and common sense by having mandatory minimum sentencing, habitualized offenders has a devastating impact on communities, especially when law enforcement was incentivized to make sure they hit those targets with regard to, habitualizing people.
Recognizing that the humanity of everybody in the room. And sometimes it takes us to remember the humanity of those that look like us in all areas of the room and to respond and treat them accordingly. Because if I see the humanity of the defendant and his or her family that's affected by the decisions that I'm making as the DA, as the prosecutor, we're going to truly look at that case with all of that in mind. It's not just a stat, a notch on our belt, or a conviction or a sentence. I think that works for all areas of the system where those things need to be considered and reminded of. There should be diversity, because there's always value to diversity of experience, diversity of thought, to diversity of mindset, because even in a community that looks on its surface to be homogeneous, there's still diversity within that community, and there's diversity that should be respected and should be recognized. If you're not really understanding or trying to understand the backgrounds of individuals, then you're not going to get a full picture of what's going on in the case to understand what is the right resolution to the case, or even sometimes how to view the evidence and the circumstances of the case.
Can't throw away another generation of Black and brown lives and just call it, they're just the casualties of a war on drugs. that sort of callousness, I hope we will never revisit. But as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be making sure we don't.
Dred Scott and, Brown versus Board of Education and Loving versus Virginia, we continue to have issues in the court. We deal with issues of racial justice and all of these cases. We continue to fight.